between the two. That's what we want to see. That's what we want to see. Team Helix is dedicated to providing interns with the resources that they need. In fact, Breanna started 5 years ago to develop a very structured and comprehensive intern program across the country. Her goal was to recruit, retain, and develop a pipeline of talented project engineers to join Team Helix. And upon successful completion of that program development, she then shifted her focus to management effectiveness, and now currently runs all university relations and management effectiveness portfolios across the country. Welcome, Breanna. We are so glad to have you here at UNLV. Thank you for being here today. How'd you get your job and then so quickly move into, you must have obviously had great success setting up the internship program to move to management effectiveness? Wow.
Yeah, it's been a great road. One of the things that I love about Helix is, you identify a business problem or challenge and they say, oh, great. So you signed yourself up to fix that. And they give you the resources necessary to be successful. And so essentially, that's really kind of where I excelled. I said, look, I think we need more focus in this area. And so they said, okay, what's your business plan? How are you going to do that? And then they gave me the resources I needed and we got it fixed, got a team going. And then I moved on to the next, business opportunity. So that's really kind of how Helix operates, regardless of what role you're in. They'll create roles for you if you show that a value and a need. So it's been great.
That is terrific. Well, we are delighted to have you here. And, when you and I were talking about what to name this, we both kind of came up with the title, Resumes That Lead to Interviews and How to Nail Both. And I'm really delighted to see we've got about 28 people on right now during spring break, no less. So bravo to the students who showed up during spring break. We're glad to have you.
Yes, we're so happy that you're here. I know that every webinar starts with, I'd love to make this as interactive as possible, but I will ask you to type into chat quite frequently. I don't know what UNLV's policy is on video, Marion. Do you allow them to share a video if they want, or do you prefer that they don't?
So when you say share a video, do you mean just any video, or do you mean this particular presentation being recorded?
Oh, just share their video, like through the WebEx. Like, can you see my face and my?
Yeah. You know what? It's totally up to them. Yeah, if you wanna show your face, that's completely up to the students. If you don't want to, your call.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So if you want to show your video, you're more than welcome. If not, you don't have to, but I will ask you to type into chat a lot. Also, as Marion mentioned earlier, if you want to be brave and have us kind of talk a little bit about your resume, you feel free to send that on over to university relations at helixelectric.com. It's in the chat. I'll put it in now so it'll be the last one. But let's see. There we go. I did it twice. So I'm just going to give you a couple of pointers on things that I see on resumes that really stand out, and things that stand out for me in interviews. So I actually pulled a report to get an idea of how many resumes I review and respond to in a shortened period of time, just to give you guys an idea of how many resumes I get the pleasure of reading over. And so this is coming from my experience of from January 1 to today. Well, I ran the report last night. So January 1 to last night, I reviewed and responded to over 542 resumes, just in a 3-month period. So that's just me, one member of my team. I also, respond to some members of my team will say, hey, what do you think about this resume? I'm kind of on the fence. Should I do a screening call? Should I send them to operations? And I look at those too. But that gives you a little bit of an idea. I've been doing this for 5 years, and in 3 months, I saw 542. So I'm just telling you from a recruiter's perspective what we're looking for. Obviously, some industries are a little bit different, but generally speaking, I think it's really important for you all to remember that we're humans too. And so to try to get that human connection across on a piece of paper is really important, right? And to make it as easy as possible on us is also really important because we're looking at so many of these. So if we can see quickly that you meet all of these initial criteria that we're looking for, you're much more likely to get an interview than if I have to really kind of scour through paragraphs of information. So I'll go ahead and get started. Marion did a great job introducing Helix and myself, so I'm not going to go into the whole who's Helix. That might be a building that you all notice that's on the front of our website. That's the Lou Rovo Brain Institute in your area. So I thought that was kind of cool. But what I'd like you to do is to type into chat just keywords that come to mind, not full sentences, just keywords. What's the purpose of a resume and what picture are you painting? So for example, I would say my one word that I would say the purpose of a resume is experience. Go ahead and type into chat and tell me some things that you think the purpose of a resume is and that you think you're supposed to be focusing on in painting a picture. And don't everybody else type at once. Oh, there we go. We got qualification, qualification. Your voice being heard. Preview of who we are, skills, convenience, highlighted qualities, usefulness. I love it. Context, opportunity. That's a great word. Competence, absolutely. All right. So 100%, we've got competence, which I think also goes with qualities, a lot of qualifications, right? Background. But then a couple of these, you know, talking about usefulness and opportunity, those are really big, right? So at the end of the day, the goal for your resume purpose is to attract attention of the recruiter, right? I'm so sorry. I have a 3-year-old here who's antsy. Please get out of the picture.
No.
Annette, please stay.
No. Actually,
Okay, sorry about that. Working from home life is very interesting. So attracting attention of a recruiter, right? So somebody said your voice being heard. 100%. We want to know who you are, and you've got to get our attention and do that with words, which is really hard. The other is to create an interest. That is through your accomplishments, your qualifications, your qualities, you know, how you want to take advantage of an opportunity, show your competence, and things of that nature. And then finally, communicating skills, accomplishments, and ultimately provoking attention and getting an interview. So like, how do you provoke an attention of someone like me who is distracted by a 3-year-old and who has 500 other, you know, resumes that they have to look at? So the first thing is the 5 C's of a resume. And so I'm going to go through these 5 C's, and then I'm going to have you all either ask questions or we can pull up a resume and talk to, you know, do they have the 5 C's, right? Thank you guys for all of your like nice comments about my cranky 3-year-old who is home because of a pandemic. I appreciate that. So the first is clean overall appearance is attractive, right? So I'm gonna go through my preferred and like my team's preferred outline of a resume, but other companies might prefer it a different way. Really, at the end of the day, though, so long as it's clean and consistent, that's what matters. So yes, I prefer a specific way to organize that information, but so long as I can easily grab what I need and where I need it, it's okay where it is on the page. But if it's not clean, if you've got a lot of like clutter all over the place, tons of paragraphs, it's not going to be helpful. Concise, so short and forceful sentences. I'm going to provide you all with a couple of resources today that hopefully can help you in writing your resume and developing it. one of which is going to be a PDF of like action verbs that you can use when describing work that you do or have done at an organization. And you can start all of your bullet points with those words that are meant to draw attention and show that you're adding value to something. Another is correct, so no mistakes. I will also provide you with a resource today of a website that you can actually upload your resume to, and it will look out not only for like general mistakes, but how much you're showing that you're analytical, how much you're showing your skill set if you highlight like a specific job that you're looking for. And it's got this AI technology that basically analyzes everything that you're putting in your resume, and it'll pop out a score for you based on, you know, what job you're looking for with that specific resume. And it'll highlight specific areas that you can work on, and then you can re-upload it. But it also looks out for some of the mistakes too. It's not a human being though. So I recommend, as I'm sure everybody's told you 1,000 times over, edit some more, send to some people to edit, and keep editing, right? Concrete, so be really specific in how you've contributed in the roles that you've had, as opposed to very broad generalizations. Be specific, right? Concrete can mean providing numbers, providing data. If you managed a team, how many people did you manage? If you had a return on an investment of some sort, if you maybe identified a problem. So one of our project engineers actually was able to value engineer something that saved the owner $100 million, right? And yes, that obviously a recruiter would look at that and say, how did you save $100 million? And then they can provide the context, right? They worked with another engineer, they collaborated with the owner and the investment capitalist, but really what they came up with is this $100 million savings. But that is immediately going to catch my eye, as opposed to value engineered to save money, right? So as concrete, as specific as you can be, is really helpful. And then finally, the final C is crediting yourself. So presenting yourself in the best light, which I know you'll do. But I really like the 5 C's method, because if you hit on these 5 C's that you can remember, overall, your resume is going to be significantly better. So clean, concise, correct, concrete, and crediting yourself. Anybody have any feedback on any of those or questions on any of those before I pull up a resume? So let me pause this and pull a resume up real quick.
So Breanna, I have a question for you. What's your take on color in a resume?
That's a good question. So I think it depends on the personal recruiter. I'm not against color so long as it doesn't detract from the overall content. If it's used in like a clean way, maybe to highlight like specific headers, right? Like education, experience. If you're using a lot of different color, if it's not consistent on what you're using the color for, right? If there's no reason for it, it can detract. So I think it's you've got to be careful with that, I guess, for lack of a better term.
We have a question. Antonio said he was told to have a mission statement.
Yeah. So if you're looking for full-time work, it's always recommended to have a mission or objective statement, right? And typically speaking, that's at the top of your resume. But if you're looking for an internship, it's a little less likely that you're going to need an objective or mission statement, because we all know what your goal is, right? At the end of the day, your goal is to get an internship so you can build your resume, so you can gain some expertise and experience, right? And grow in your skill set. So we know, regardless of what industry you're in, what major you're in, that's the general overall objective of an internship. So I personally, don't really put a whole lot of weight into an objective statement for interns. However, when I hire full-time, I do look at the objective statement, because then you're looking at big picture purpose, right? If I start my profession or I grow my profession in your industry or at your place of business, here's what I want to accomplish, right? Big picture, who I am as an individual, and really what motivates and drives me in a role, right? That's what you're saying in your objective.
And I think we have another question about graphics that may kind of fall in line with the color comments. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so graphics, I don't prefer graphics. If you're talking about like a specific headshot, in this day and age, right, with LinkedIn and all of those other platforms we have, I can look you up instantly and you can provide more details if you want to provide a picture in that regard. If you're talking about other graphics like, you know, some clip art to show experience, and I don't recommend that just because it detracts from the overall you know, I would say like content itself, right? I see somebody else said, are we going to cover how the ATS system plays a role? Can you elaborate on what you mean by that? And you can unmute if you want. Okay. Dean, I'd like some clarification or elaboration on your ATS question. I think you might be asking like, are there specific keywords that help my ATS system track you down? Is that what you're asking, or? Yes. Okay. Yes. So we can definitely cover that in like one slide. I can definitely do that once we get through these just general like formatting questions, okay? Is it a simple linear format good? I see a lot of resume templates that have 2 columns or more. That's a great question. Let me unpause my screen. So you've got, let's see. So you're talking about this, right? This is the 2 column. So this is a template and an option that is in a lot of the various like Word or resume builders online, right? And then you've got this linear format that is also an option. Ultimately, what I'm going to tell you might be an answer that you don't like, because I'm going to say it's up to you. What I need from you is to communicate effectively to me in a clear and concise way why you would be a good fit for my role. So long as I have that information, for example, project experience, right? Or relevant work experience. I don't care if it looks like this one or if it looks like this one. Because look, at the end of the day, 2 things I'd like to point out in these formatting, these 2 formats, is that education, coursework, all of the main sections of the resume are either bolded, underlined, capitalized, or all of the above. So it is very clear. My eye instantly goes to those areas, which is why I was telling Marion, you know, if you want to use color for where you want to draw the eye, I would recommend it in the headings as opposed to, you know, throughout for various reasons, because that's where my eye's going to go. And I will know, okay, I'm not really worried about this person's project experience because we don't have a like a specific project that we need them to work on. I want to see their management experience. The role that I'm looking for is more aligned with leadership, right? So then I'm going to go to their relevant work experience, or I'm going to go if they have like, if they have additional leadership experiences like clubs, right? Sports, things of that nature, that's where my eye is going to go. So regardless of if it's this person who sent it to me and it's linear, or if it's This, I also still see professional experience, see how it's a larger font size and bolded, activities and leadership. So it's very easy for me to see that. I highly recommend, instead of putting graphics like somebody had asked, put your links in, or if you have a digital profile, link that, right? So I can click on it and instantly go to your LinkedIn, and that makes my life significantly easier. Any other questions before we move along? Okay. So let me go back to the actual presentation. All right, so moving along to a little bit more formatting, and then we'll talk about the ATS and words to look out for. The order of items, I think, should be consistent if you have your heading and your contact information. And the reason I say this, and I'm sorry for some of you who are like, that is so obvious, Breanna, but I promise you it's not. This is coming from me going through 542 resumes in the last 3 months. Heading and contact information should always be first. I should know how I can get a hold of you, make my life easier, remember? Education should be second. It's helpful for recruiters to know where you came from, what your major is, and when you're expecting to graduate. The expecting to graduate is really important, or if you have graduated, right? Because oftentimes individuals on recruiting teams have so many what we call requisitions that we help each other out a lot. So even though I am primarily in the intern world, I also work directly and have twice a week meetings with those who are hiring full-time project engineers, full-time project managers. So when I'm going through and I see your expected graduation date is May of 2021, I know that you're not going to want to be an intern this summer. You're going to want full-time. And even though you applied in my requisition as an intern, I can also forward your information along to my other team. So having that grad date is very important, and having it at the top, I think it's crucial because I can see your name, I can see your major and your grad date. That's all I need to pass it on to my team to get it into the hands that you need to talk to for an interview. Experience, and then optional categories. So optional categories can include anything that highlights and showcases your leadership, your problem solving, your ability to communicate. A lot of those, what people like to call soft skills, right? And the importance behind that as a recruiter is, I understand I can teach you technical, right? You're going to school for technical. You're all in a very great program with very challenging majors. I know you're smart. You're all very bright individuals. So if there's a technical component that my team needs to teach you, we are confident we can do that. The things that are a lot harder to teach are those soft skills, right? Those communication effectiveness, being a member of a team, having a strong work ethic, being a leader. Yes, there are classes and courses that we can teach, but at the end of the day, that takes a lot more investment of time, money, and resources than being able to teach you a couple of technical skills. So when I say optional categories to showcase your achievements, I'm talking about categories that can showcase you and your ability to develop or use those less technical skills. And that's something that I find with engineers a lot. Engineers tend to focus very heavily on what they're good at, which is the technical, and less heavily on some of that people management and project management components. And so if you want to stand out in that major, you can start to really stand out by highlighting those sorts of things. Yep. Student organizations, volunteer experience, conferences, things of that nature. So going into the experience section, this is going to be the responsibilities you had on the job, awards received, skills developed. I put awards received twice, training and development. So the thing I'd like to highlight on the experience section is the question that I think it was Dean had with regard to ATS systems and playing a role in your resume getting found. So for those of you who aren't familiar, We recruiters have access to a variety of different databases. And I will answer that question, CJ, in 1 second. So we recruiters have access to a variety of different databases that we pay for. It can be something like LinkedIn Premium, all the way up to, Indeed, Glassdoor, all of those different websites that you hear that you can upload your resume on. We also have our own internal applicant tracking system, is what ATS stands for. So what that means is you click on helixelectric.com, you hit I want to apply, and you can apply via our website. I get thousands of applications regularly. So as a recruiter, we can create what we call search strings to identify the resumes that most meet our needs. Search strings include key buzzwords that we are looking for to meet the qualifications or the needs of that open position. My first recommendation to you is when you are applying for a job that you really want, right? I mean, lots of us have applied for 50 jobs at a time and we don't have time to tailor our resume to all 50. But when you are applying to like your top 5 or your top 3, go through their job description and identify keywords that you see coming up within that description that are a theme. Okay, so usually what you're going to see is they're going to give you a general description of the job, right? It'll be in paragraph form. Then you're going to see skills that you need. Then you're going to see qualifications that you need. And you're always going to see a theme of 3 to 5 different words that they're going to reiterate throughout that they want. Find a way to integrate those words into your resume. I say that because when I do my search string, I'm going to type in 3 to 5 words that I'm looking for, and it's going to pull all of the resumes from my applicant tracking system that most match those 3 to 5 words. And that's how you get past, step 1, especially with these huge organizations, right? You're going to want, obviously, to have like the project the position titles in your resume, right? That's the first one. And then others, like I said, look in the description and then tailor your resume accordingly. Does that answer your question, Dean, or do you have a follow-up that I can answer for the ATS system? I don't think you have a, okay. If you have a follow-up, you can unmute or you can type into chat. That covers it? Yeah. So good. I'm glad that that covers it. And for those of you who didn't know about the ATS system, most major companies do that, and they do it in Indeed and in Glassdoor and on LinkedIn. So basically anywhere that you put your resume online, we have the ability to search string keywords. So again, best bet for the companies that are like your top 3 or your top 5 in order to get through. Companies like Chevron, for example, I know get thousands and thousands of applicants. To get through to the first phase, to even have a recruiter look at your resume, make sure you tailor it with keywords that you see from their job description, skills, and qualifications. CJ asked, would you mention achievements that you had before you went to college or only those that happened during college? Really great question. You are going to mention achievements that you had before college if you're looking for an internship, right? Because we don't expect you to have a ton of achievements all throughout college if you're a sophomore or if you're a freshman, even if you're a junior. By the time you're a senior, we're hoping that you have achievements and experiences and involvement, right, in different student organizations on campus, because it shows your willingness to take initiative and get involved, right? It shows your ability to work on a team, especially if you're in a lot of student organizations and you can speak knowledgeably about things that you've done. It shows your work ethic, because it takes a lot to balance your full workload of your engineering courses, right? 15 credit hours, 17, 18 credit hours on top of being involved in numerous student organizations, right? And so we look to that. So as I said, just to recap, if you're looking for an internship, definitely before, like if you're in high school and you were the captain of, I don't know, the wrestling team, or if you were on debate or something of that nature, those are going to highlight debate. You know how to analyze data, effectively sum it up, and communicate it, right? If you're a captain of any sort of team, it shows your ability to work on a team and leadership. And so, yes, definitely include high school. Once you start looking for full-time, I highly recommend focusing more heavily from high school and into what you've contributed and what you've done being in college. What would be the best organizations for getting involved in engineering? So what I can do is I can send you a list. I'm making a note right now of the organizations that we look for that have been helpful for students in engineering. So it can be a variety of different engineering. The first one that comes to mind, because we're an electrical contractor, is IEEE. That's an electrical one. But I have a list, a full-blown list of all of them. So I'll send that to you along with that PDF of the action words to include in your resume. And then another question that I see is, would it be a good idea to make a Glassdoor or LinkedIn account so we are easily searchable? Absolutely LinkedIn. Absolutely, without a doubt, LinkedIn. So especially being in this virtual world, we're requiring or relying very heavily on our virtual resources, right? So just as it's a challenge for all of you to network and get in front of employers and, you know, have that connection, it's a challenge for us too. Usually I'm on campus. My job is I travel all over the country all year long. And I talk to professors, I talk to students, I go to student groups, and that's really where I start to get my leads, right? But because it's virtual space that they're in, I don't get to go to campus. No one's on campus. And so I actually have a member of my team, her full-time job is what we call sourcing. And essentially it is what Dean had mentioned with the applicant tracking system. She goes in and puts in search strings and she just starts pulling resumes. And then when she gets through those, she goes on LinkedIn and she can tag what majors we're looking for. She can tag what schools we're looking at, and it'll pull up all the profiles of everybody on LinkedIn that match her search string. So she's pulling a lot of people and getting to know them via LinkedIn specifically. Glassdoor or, you know, Indeed, it doesn't hurt to upload your resume right there, but really focus on your LinkedIn profile. If you guys are okay with this format, I'm happy to keep just Q&Aing. I don't have to go through all of these slides. It's whatever you prefer. I'm here to assist you. Is this working for everyone, answering questions? Because I think it's getting to exactly, you know, what questions you have and the needs that you have. Are we okay with this? Yes, no? Yeah, good idea. So I will send the slides of like tips and tricks for sure if we don't get to all of it. But everyone's saying it's okay if I just keep answering your questions. So I'll just keep answering your questions, and then whatever we don't get to, you'll have these slides. And I'll also put the links to like the resume builder and then the interview stuff too. Yes, you want to talk about interviews? Yes. All right. So I love how, first of all, great job to all of you for asking a lot of questions, advocating for yourself, because I have these slides prepared because I've done this a lot, right? And oftentimes there's limited involvement from participants. So thank you for all of your questions. They're thoughtful. I hope that I am able to provide some insight and help you with them, but I appreciate your participation. So someone asked, let's see, if we have letters of recommendation from previous jobs, where would we mention attach that if only prompted for a resume upload. Maxwell, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. What we care about first and foremost is your resume. That's going to get you that interview, right? And once you have that interview, then we'll ask for your letters of recommendation. But typically speaking, because we have so many applicants that we're trying to go through, if we reviewed a resume and multiple letters of recommendation for every single applicant, we would never even have time to talk to our applicants. So it's really important that you focus very heavily on your resume and have your letter of rec as a supplement. My recommendation for you, when it says, only prompted to upload a resume, upload that resume. If you have extra time, tailor that resume. But then once you get that interview, when you send your follow-up thank you email, which everybody should do after an interview, you can say, I've also attached, my resume for ease of access, as well as a letter of recommendation from so-and-so, and give the context of who that person is and why their letter is of value to that recruiter. Someone asked, should we mention in the LinkedIn profile that we're looking for a job? Yes. So in LinkedIn, you have an opportunity similar to a resume, right? Where it's your name and then you have like a mission statement or an objective. There's a little banner that says, what your job title is or the job title that you're looking for. You can include the job title that you're looking for, and you can also say like actively looking. There's also a profile option when you're uploading your profile picture. There's a little banner and it'll say open to opportunities or open to jobs. And so recruiters look for that banner that's on your profile picture. There you go. Marion said connect to me and her on LinkedIn. Absolutely. You can kind of see how ours are set up, but we can see just by looking at your profile picture if you're even available for a job. Someone said, what would you recommend for a post-BA that is going into a new degree where I have work history relating to the old degree, but not current work history for the new career path? What would you recommend? Start a new resume or summarize 10 plus years of relevant work towards the new degree and career? Great question. So I am of the belief that no experience is bad experience. And so with that being said, it's very important to include all work experience where you can communicate value. And what I mean by that is this, obviously this is for Queenie, and this person has 10 plus years of relevant work experience, right? So you have an extensive amount of relevant work experience. But even for those of you who have no work experience in your related field, let's say, in high school and in college, you were working at Chick-fil-A. I see that a lot. Or you were working, in a landscaping business. And you're like, well, I'm trying to get a job as an engineer. Why am I going to put my Chick-fil-A experience? And I would argue that, again, your resume is a way for you to communicate your ability to provide value to this team. So therefore, there are transferable skills in any of the roles that you did that can provide value to the job that you're looking for. So my Chick-fil-A example, you can talk about the high volume of people that you interact with in a 5-hour shift every single day. You can talk about multitasking, right? And being able to stick to a quick deadline because you have to execute things and work with a team in the back to make sure that you get that person what they need within a 3-minute time frame, right? So those are things that are, cashier, cook job, sound good on a resume. Those are ways that you can make it sound good on a resume. There is a book called What Color is Your Parachute? I am typing it into chat now. Very helpful, providing like a variety of different ways that you can modify your experiences to show transferable value of skill sets. It's super easy book. It's like snippets, so you don't have to read like 200 pages. You can go to like specific chapters. You can take specific quizzes, and then it tells you go to this page if you answer this, and then it'll provide you with a list of adjectives or action verbs that are helpful. So that book I would highly recommend. How can we format our soft skills on a resume? So how do you format that? Great question. You take applicable work experience, or applicable, as I put, you know, awards, skills developed, or these optional categories. That'll give me a second to go to the next slide. Any of these things, right? Activities, interests, personal background, skills. You're going to take any of that and you're going to apply it on a resume. Do you hear my child asking for a snack? Apparently. What do you need? Okay, I need. Please go this time. So formatting would be, you know, taking any of these. Snacks are very important. Yeah, especially when you're 3, you know, you need snacks. If I could give all of you a snack right now to make up for the fact that my child keeps interrupting, I would. I'll Venmo you all $5 to get some snacks. So taking any of these, whether it be your cook position that somebody mentioned, your cashier position, if it's relevant, like actual work experience, or awards, scholarships, student organizations, clubs, activities, and then identifying ways you have used soft skills in those roles. So an example would be if you have a leadership role, let's say in a student organization, like I have somebody who's in women in construction, right? And she's the secretary. Well, what she has to do is send out the weekly communications messages, coordinate with everybody, meeting times, align and make sure that there's agenda for these meetings. So those are things that she might discredit and say, oh, all I'm doing is, you know, sending out a calendar invite. But for us, coordinating a large group of people is really important, right? Being able to effectively communicate, you know, an agenda is very important. So yes, I can use the resume we used as an example. So yes, you can absolutely talk about those soft skills using your concrete experiences, I guess is what I want to say. Can you use the resume we sent as an example? Sure. Let me pull that up right now. So I guess what I'd like you guys to do, instead of me just talking a ton, would be, let's pull these up. UNLV resume sample. Here we go. So I'm going to let you guys look at this for, let's say, let's just give it a minute, because that's about how long I spend scanning a resume. So I'm going to give you a minute to look at this, and I want you type into chat the things that stand out to you. So what's a benefit? If you're a recruiter and this person is applying, let's say, for an engineering position, what do you see that instantly catches your eye? Or what do you like about this resume? So take a minute, look at it, and then type into chat what you like about this resume. Everyone's saying very clean, easy to identify categories. Yep. By the way, my husband just snatched up the 3-year-old, so we have no more interruptions. I promise. I just saw it. Very actionable. Subheadings. Good. Awesome. There are numbers. Love it. So I would say, I would reiterate, all dates are clear. Yep. It's bullet points, not paragraphs, right? I would reiterate everything that all of you said. I love that if you look at the first, this is a recruiter trick, insider, don't tell anybody that you heard this from me, but I go to a lot of recruiting conferences, right? Especially in our industry. There's a lack of skilled labor right now in what I'm doing. And so we have to get creative and talk a lot about how we're going to find the perfect candidate and not have turnover, right? And have high retention and things like that. And one of the things that all the recruiters in this last conference, it was a virtual one, said was they look at the first word of every bullet point to see if it's something that's actionable. So if somebody says something like vague and unclear, like, then they just skip to the next bullet point. But if it says they developed something, that catches my attention. I want to know what you developed. If you're taking credit for owning something and designing it and developing it, tell me what it is, right? So look, I didn't even notice that this person put also design on the next one, right? So you developed a laser cavity, you designed and you built, and then the goal in this was to produce. So then my question would be in an interview, right? Like, okay, did you meet your goal? How did you meet your goal? Those are going to be those probing questions. But just based off of those 3 bullet points, I know someone developed, designed, and had a clear goal in mind. And I'm going to probably want to talk to that person. Overhauled, a great verb, right? Like the engine, look, some engine rebuild, personal experience. Someone could have just said, I like working on cars, right? But overhauled, machined and assembled, maintained and restored, those words catch a recruiter's attention. And overhauling something and assembling and restoring are things that are also applicable in the business world, regardless of what sector you're in, right? We have to overhaul programs regularly and think about change management and totally rethink and come at it from a different perspective, right? We have to restore a variety of different things, maintain relationships. The fact that this person is doing those skills, yes, it's on a car, but do they problem solve? Do they have a goal in mind and then execute on that goal and continue to work toward a goal? Is something that is what that tells me. Does that make sense? So what are some things this person has? Obviously, their, as I mentioned, education, what they're studying, when they're going to graduate. What are some things that you think are lacking or are areas of opportunity for this resume? Type them into chat. Size. Yes. Okay. Some formatting errors. Try to have a bullet one line. This is great feedback that, look, you guys don't even need me. All we need to do is connect you and then you can help each other out. It's all great feedback. So overall, I would say this resume is a strong resume, but there are some areas of focus that they can maybe clean it up a bit. One of which is, it says spacing is inconsistent, but they also said either end every bullet sentence with a period or don't. Again, consistency, right? So you see here in project experience, period, and then this project experience, no periods, right? So maintain consistency. In an effort to maintain consistency, also, I'd like to point out, don't go from past to present tense unless your work experience is past tense versus present tense. So what I mean is, if you're currently in a role, you can say what you do in present tense, right? Because you're actively doing that today. Everything you've done in the past needs to stay in past tense. I often see people go back and forth with past and present tense. The next, so some formatting errors. Let's see. Dates are okay. Some people say I wouldn't mention the GPA. That's a matter of personal preference. Because that GPA is above a 3.0, I think it's fine to mention the GPA. If a GPA is below a 3.0, I would be hesitant to mention a GPA because you don't want somebody to discount you based on your GPA alone. It's not fair. It's not right. And I will tell you, from a recruiter standpoint, a GPA does not dictate how smart and how capable somebody is within a specific role. However, from a hiring manager standpoint, so that's the people that I work for, right? That say, I need this candidate and I need them to have this GPA and they do look at GPA. If you put it on there, I know your GPA, but if you omit it, then what's going to happen is I really like your resume. I'm going to talk to you. And in our conversation in an interview, I'm going to learn more. I will ask you, what is your GPA? And you'll have the opportunity to say, well, Breanna, my GPA is a 2.5, but I work 40 hours a week because I'm trying to pay for college myself. I don't want to get into student loan debt. I have 15 credit hours. Maybe freshman year was really challenging. I moved out of state. You can provide context for me to then go to my hiring manager and say, look, I understand that a 3.0 GPA is very important for you, but this person has all of the qualities that we're looking for, regardless of a 2.5 or not. Like, how many people can work 30 hours a week and take full 15 credit hours, right? And so I can more easily defend that. Whereas if you put a 2.5 here on your resume and I don't have an opportunity to even ask you the context, it gives you a disadvantage. Okay. Dean, I disagree with the coursework. Okay, so someone said don't put coursework. And then someone else said, I disagree, but pick and choose from the job you're applying. Fair. Coursework is definitely a dependent upon the recruiter and the position. What I will tell you is that coursework being at the top and one of the first things that I'm supposed to see on your resume is not a good idea. Only because you have other project experience and relevant work experience that I want to look at before I look at your coursework. If you want to put your coursework, you're more than welcome to put your coursework at the bottom of your resume, or toward the bottom, right? Not at the top. Tailor it toward coursework that's going to be applicable and needed for a specific role that you're looking for. In addition to coursework, you can title it coursework and certifications, right? So in my job, you need a lot of different certifications, right? To be able to do a variety of different roles in the electrical industry specifically. The issue that I run into with coursework, though, is that recruiters, for the most part, know the schools they recruit from, and they know the majors they want. The way we found the majors we want and the schools we recruit from is because we know your curriculum, right? Like, I know the classes that you're going to be taking or that you already have taken. So I would only include the relevant coursework if I thought that it was necessary for me to get the specific job that I want. So as I think it was Dean mentioned, tailor it for that job, but don't just have like a blanket statement of just coursework. Like, I can look at the course catalog too, right? Like, I can go on UNLV, I can go to the engineering website, and I can say, oh, this person is a junior in civil. Here's all of the courses they've already taken. And that's very simple for me to do. And that's what, and I've done it. I vetted it before I said, I want civils from UNLV. Does that make sense? It's frustrating seeing entry-level jobs require several years of experience. Is this a preference and you encourage us to still apply, or are some companies hard on this? If you have certifications that could sub for coursework. Okay, first question. It's frustrating to see entry-level jobs require several years experience. Is it a preference and do you still apply? Some companies will say must have, and some companies will say preferred. If it's a job that is you're very passionate about, you think you could do well in that job, apply anyway. If it is saying preferred, apply anyway. If it's a job that you know would be a stretch job, meaning, it would be a challenge once you take that job, and they're not saying preferred, they're saying required, 10 years minimum, 5 years minimum. Put your hat in the ring. It doesn't, all it takes is for you to upload a resume, but don't spend as much time tailoring your resume toward that job. So don't worry about like the ATS verbiage, right? And search strings. Don't worry about modifying your relevant coursework to that specific job. I hope that answers that question. 0 to 3 years experience, like if somebody says at least 3 years of experience, apply. That means it's an entry-level job. If they start to get into 5, 7, 10, that means it's going to require a little bit of wisdom that is gained in part from just, being in a role for a period of time and having that exposure in that role. But if it's 3 years, apply. That's entry level, and we take people all the time. The title like senior makes it obvious. So someone said, some companies I feel interchange required and preferred. The title like senior makes it obvious. Title like senior does make it obvious. But we also, we do have titles like project engineer, senior project engineer, but sometimes what we're looking for, and this is where the title kind of gets hard, is someone who's in a project engineer position, but could be willing to take on a senior project engineer position within the next year. So what we're doing when we're backfilling roles is we're looking at succession planning too, right? And so what that means is if I'm putting in my job description, it's a project engineer job, but I need you to have 5 years of experience, or I need you to have 4 years of experience, it's because I want to promote you within the next year into that senior level position. Whereas if I just have it be a project engineer position and I don't say you need 5 years, let's say I say you need 3 years, or I say it's preferred, that means I'm going to have a junior, basically, that's not the name of it, but a junior project engineer or entry-level project engineer position available. You're not going to move into senior project engineer within a year's time frame. I hope that makes sense. And that's why it gets really sticky with a lot of companies with their titles, because a bigger organization is always going to be succession planning. We're looking at the next 3 to 5 year forecast as opposed to fill this need today or the next 3 to 5 months. Let's see. What certifications from LinkedIn Learning, Udemy, Microsoft, and other similar platforms are beneficial? Are certifications from some organizations more preferred than others? Those certifications from LinkedIn Learning, Udemy, Microsoft are beneficial if you have them. I would recommend that you tailor the certifications that you're getting and the trainings that you're doing to be broad skills that can be helpful in your area of expertise. So, for example, we're a project management based kind of roles. That's what we really look at primarily. And so there are some LinkedIn learnings and Udemy learnings on what's called Microsoft Project, which is like a project scheduling platform, like a project management platform. So if you get a certification in that, look, if you're in a project management space, like, and you know that you know how to use Microsoft Project, that's going to give you a leg up, right? And that's not specific to Helix Electric. That's specific to anybody who does project management or things of that nature, and they use that big, platform, or that big software, rather, I should say. Same for like Microsoft Excel. Lots of companies utilize Excel, and not Excel basic, but like getting an advanced proficiency in Excel is huge, right? So if you can identify those bigger ticket items that can transfer to numerous different organizations, it's going to make you more marketable and be a better use of your time. how important is Microsoft Excel proficiency? In my world, it's very important in our industry because we utilize it for a variety of things, from everything from tracking costs. Yes, we have a cost tracking system as well, but we also utilize Excel for a variety of reasons, to not only cost tracking, but log tracking, our contract tracking and things of that nature. So I think Microsoft Excel is something that has so many, we do it for data analytics too, where we'll pull data from our internal database, which is called CMIC. And then we'll turn that into a Microsoft Excel file, a CSV file. And then we'll use that to create pivot tables, right? To analyze all that data that just came out of our database. So I would say Excel is very transferable regardless of what industry you're in, because every industry has data and every industry wants to know if they're getting returns on their investment, and every industry wants to know how they can continue to be better and what the data is saying. So I would say it's very important. What jobs and internships require citizenship? What jobs and internships that require citizenship when you are not a citizen but a DACA recipient? So I think it's, that question is dependent on a case by case, job by job basis. We do allow, we encourage DACA recipients to apply for us. So I think it just depends on what company you're in. Something else to think about too is, I know you all want jobs and you want to build your resume and have these great interviews, but don't ever forget that you're also interviewing an organization, right? And so while we're interviewing you, you're interviewing us. And it speaks volumes to an organization about what they're looking for requirements. And you can learn a lot about their culture when they tell you what qualifications they expect. And so keep that in mind when organizations maybe are saying, no, we don't take DACA recipients. Well, is that a culture? Like, what kind of culture would that be? Would it be inclusive? Is there a fair amount of diversity within that organization? Is that somewhere you want to be? I think that those are really important questions to ask when you're looking at various organizations. I think I answered. Ooh, I feel like I just got speed dated with all of you. Yeah, I feel like I was just interviewed. I think I answered all of the questions in the chat so far. Did I miss anybody? Can you retype if I missed your question?
I think you got everybody. You did a great job on that. Well done. And very, very good questions, everybody. Excellent. Has everybody asked the question that they most wanted to know today? And if you haven't, please put it out there.
Someone said, should we separate coursework from education? So, and I would love to know quick interview tips. Yeah. So coursework from education. I think that if you're really trying to highlight your relevant work experience, my preference would be that work, and if you have relevant work experience, my preference would be to see that first before seeing your coursework. If you really want to include your coursework, yes, there is no problem with separating coursework from education, only because it's if you look at this resume right here, it is a category in and of itself, right? Notice how this individual put education underlined, bolded. So we see relevant coursework as its own category. But also, as to somebody else's point, you need to tailor that specifically for that job. And same with technical skills, right? So we need more of your experience before your technical and relevant coursework skills. User you are, especially, would it be advisable to say what level of user you are within Excel or any of those other platforms where you can be a variety of basic, intermediate, and advanced? Absolutely advisable to say what level you are. Same with if you are bilingual, and you have like an intermediate proficiency because you took some classes, be very clear on what that is, or if you're, you know, advanced, then be very clear on that too. Quick interview tips. So I will send all these, like these are those action verbs I was telling you about. It's an awesome, awesome, awesome resource. I'll also send you some of my sample resumes so you can kind of see, and I marked some of them up. So if you look, I'll say like this stands out because it's a larger name. And then I'll send you the PowerPoint slides that include more highlights of resumes, do's and don'ts, and then hints, and then this resume reviewer. So you can go to vmock.com, and then I promise I'll get to the interviews. Go here. You can upload your resume and it will give you feedback on that resume. So let me show you that really quickly. So it'll have the hyperlink, but this is, you can do one for free. So you used to have upload one resume, one left, and then it'll score your resume based on bullet by bullet. Like, yes, this is good. No, you didn't add any specifics here. Yes, this is good, showing exact actions. You know, no, this includes filler words. Take some of those out. It's really, really great and a big resource that you can use, and I highly recommend it. So that's finishing up on the resume side of things. Going back to the interview side of things, I would say quick tips is your elevator speech. Oh, nice. Marion says you're introducing VMOC soon. So cool. Quick, your elevator speech should be short, concise, and effective. You need to develop it. I was just telling Marion before you all came on, I would say individuals overlook the value of knowing your own elevator speech or your pitch, because you assume it's my job to ask you all the questions to get all the information. I challenge you to flip that notion on its head. It's your job to get me the information that you want to get me, right? Like, I can ask you questions and you can tell me, you know, what you want to convey, right? Like the top 3 things that you want me to take away from my conversation with you. You need to know those top 3 things so that then you can convey it when you're answering my questions. So an elevator speech is a really short, 30-second business description of what you do and why someone should work with you. Who you are, what you do, and what do you offer. So who you are, what you do, and what do you offer. It should be like 30 seconds. And the reason it's called an elevator pitch or an elevator speech is, imagine you're on the 14th floor of a building and you're in an elevator with someone. And me, for example, I actually was in an Uber pre-COVID, and I was not going far at all, but it was dumping down rain and we were at a work thing. And the driver of the Uber was an electrical engineering major, and they were doing Uber to make money on the side. Well, I had a 5-minute Uber ride. The first 3 minutes was me just like, hey, cordial, how's it going? What's going on, right? The last 2 minutes, I found out that this person was an electrical engineering major looking for a job, and that I'm an electrical engineering recruiter, right? So this person had essentially 2 minutes to sell themselves to me to get an interview or to get me to look at their resume, right? So that's their elevator pitch. You're stuck in an elevator with someone, and you have from the time you're at the 14th floor to the bottom floor to sell yourself on who you are, what you do, and what you offer. That's my biggest piece of advice for interviews, is developing your elevator pitch. If you know that, you can construct all of your responses in interviews to reiterate the points of who you are, what you do, and what you offer, also known as me in 30 seconds. And I have slides on this too that I can go into. And then the final thing is just the resume, the interview question types. So there are 4 question types that we generally have, 4 categories. The basic question, which is very, straightforward information, right? You can't really prepare for those. You should know it. Questions from your resume specifically. Know your resume and know someone wanted to talk to you because your resume stood out to them. So they're going to ask you about that resume and the things that stood out to them. So you need to be able to effectively communicate those experiences and, again, how those experiences developed their leadership, soft skills, and things of that nature. Behavioral questions, those are specific questions focused on how you've acted in certain situations, in employment related situations. And the logic behind this from a recruiter perspective is your past performance in a workplace, whether it be as a cashier, a line cook, a lawnmower, landscaper, whatever, your specific performance in that role, even though it's not an engineering role, will predict your future performance. And so again, it's an opportunity for you to highlight your problem solving, your work ethic, your collaboration. Those are things that are all transferable regardless of what industry you're in. Favorite professor always says, past performance is the best indicator of future performance. Exactly. And so that's what those behavior questions are about. Yes, I'm not testing your technical knowledge, right? And what coursework you've done. I want to see how you've been performing in a job in a professional setting. And that's going to show how you're going to perform in a professional setting with my team. And then the last one are the technical questions. Those are going to be knowing exactly what position you're applying for and being able to recall things in class that are going to be relevant and helpful for that job. So if you don't feel comfortable or you don't have space in your resume to include relevant coursework, I encourage you, when you get an interview, to write down, when you're prepping, all the relevant coursework for that job specifically. And then you'll have an opportunity in the interview to discuss the relevant coursework and how it applies to the job that you would like to fill or the role that you would like to fill. Okay, those are very quick, interview. I know I'm over time and I answered a lot of your questions, but I think answering your questions, I'm sorry I didn't get to go through all the slides, but I think answering your questions was most relevant and valuable to you. My email I put in chat, it's also on the screen. Feel free to reach out if other questions come up. I'm happy to respond to your emails. If they do come up, just quick, I can just give you a quick response, or we can set something up if you have additional questions. In order to get the slides, Marion, do you happen to have a list of all the WebEx attendees that either I can, like a report that I can send everything to, or should I send it to you and then you can send it to them? What's the best way to do that?
You know what? Why don't you send it to me first, and then
Okay.
I'll push it out to everybody that attended today. Yes, we do have a list of everybody, so I'll send it from me and I'll copy you, Breanna.
Okay, that's perfect. So I'll get that over to her later this afternoon after I provide that hungry 3-year-old with some snacks. Quickly, someone asked optimum size of a resume, 1 page, especially if you're in college. There's no reason that, if you haven't been in the workforce for 20 years, there's no reason that you need more than 1 page. And then Marion said, what was your biggest takeaway today? So if everybody could type into chat before we leave, I'd love to hear your biggest takeaways and the thing that you thought was most helpful from today.
I always ask this question so it imprints.
Yeah.
Formatting.
Action verbs.
Yeah, right.
Order of items. Order of items.
Wonderful. I think you have definitely impacted the people that were here today. Nice turnout. Everybody, thank you so much for coming today. Helix Electric and Breanna King, we're so delighted to have had you as a presenter today. I hope you come back. And I know that you've hired quite a few of our students in the past, and we're very grateful for that. We really appreciate you hiring UNLV engineering students. It's nice to know more about Helix, and we're really glad to meet you. Thank you so much for doing this today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the time. And as I said, look, my passion is being a resource for you. Yes, at the end of the day, I need to recruit, but truly I went into this profession because I just love helping people. So if you all have additional questions, don't hesitate to reach out via email, and I will get all those items over to Marion late tonight or early tomorrow morning.
Great. That's fantastic. Everybody have a great Wednesday, a great rest of your spring break. We're so glad you joined us today, and we'll see you at the next Engineering Excellence webinar. Have a great night.
Thank you.